Hello there! So, you're going to start querying. You spend hours, weeks, months, years writing away, all leading up to this moment, poured your soul into your manuscript, all to be told that, nah, thanks. Not interested. Rejected. They don't want to read it. Which, of course, is something no one wants to hear, because, it's like your life's work. So before getting started with that, I'm just going to run over a few things that I would tick off on my checklist if I were to do it. Now, it's worth noting that I said if I'm going to do it. Currently I've decided that I'm going to self-publish because I just feel more comfortable being in control of all aspects of marketing and writing and selling and whatnot. But for those that are going the more traditional route, querying is, I guess, the first non-editory kind of step that you have after you've completed your book. So you've written it, you've edited it, and before you even consider querying, you should have had some beta readers. Now, you've got to trust them, and really, son? Really? I'm trying to talk. You should be able to trust your beta readers to give honest advice, and you don't want, a huge amount. I would say, probably, which some of you may say it's a lot. I like 8. Just to get some common issues that, a certain number of people are dealing with. So I know that it's not an outlier, and I'm not going to change it. It's just because one person just accidentally thought. Although it's still worth considering if one person still thinks something. I just wanted to have, a bulk amount to go on. But anyway, yes, so before you start querying, it's always worth having your beta readers to give you some feedback and then spend your time going through it and making some changes. If you want, again, you can go back through it again with some more readers to see if they've picked up on your changes and if they've got any other issues or ideas. Because you've got to remember, at the end of the day, you know your book better than anyone. And I've done it so many times. I read it and it's fine. But I know everything because I made it all up. So it's all in my head. So I make these connections that aren't in the book, but they're there in my head. And I give it to someone and I ask them, oh, did you get this? And they go, no. And I'm like, really? Did you not pick up that word on page 3 and relate it to one of the words that I put on page 200? Did you not make that? Well, no. Because it was kind of too... to be honest, it's kind of a horcrux of mine. I try to be clever, but I'm not clever. It's I try to be subtle, but sometimes it's so subtle it's not even there. So that's one of the issues I picked up on, and I've hopefully, and still am, in the process of sort of fixing these. So what's obvious to you when you read is never obvious to everyone else. So it's always good to have beta readers, get your feedback, edit it through again, and that can be just a slightly nicer read for people who go and buy your book. Otherwise, if I didn't, get feedback from other people, I would have had these subtle hints in my book that I don't think anyone really, maybe one person might have picked up on it, but you'd have to be I guess you'd just probably have to read it really fast to make the connection because it was just too subtle. But yes, so beta readers, that's always the first good step. After you've edited it and are happy with it yourself, you then go and pass it on to other people because you don't want that. You don't want a publisher to sort of read it in the state where you've just edited it and no one else has seen it, because there's just going to be things you've missed. There always are. But you get so familiar with the book. When you're editing it and you're going through the whole thing all the time, it's you need someone with a fresh pair of eyes to just go through it and, point out any mistakes or anything that is just sometimes too obvious to see when you're so close. I've looked at some things in my book and I've thought, really? Did I really write that? Is that how did I miss that? I've edited this several times. How did I miss that? Just one of those things. So yes, after beta readers, I would, for myself, I'm going the indie route, so I would hire out an editor. Although I would still recommend that, even if you're going the traditional route, because when you send your query letter and then they request your manuscript, they will probably be able to tell whether you've had a professional editor over it or not. Because they will then point out any inconsistencies or errors that you've made that perhaps the normal reader wouldn't pick up on. But a publishing company might do. And you just, I guess, although it's generally a lot of money for hiring out an editor, I would say it's worth it, because if you believe in your book, you should be willing to invest some money into it. Obviously, not everyone has the funds to do that, but it will show to a publisher that you've invested in it and that, you mean a bit of business. So hopefully that will give you their money and put it in, and everyone will be happy. Now, generally speaking, a traditional publishing company would have their own in-house editors. So, I mean, again, it's kind of like a way up, like, you're not wasting money, because you might not have got signed without having one, but, like, it means you pay for one, and then it goes into in-house editing, and then they edit it, and then, like, I mean, did you pay that for nothing? So, it's just something to think about. Maybe possibly think about considering an editor, and obviously when you pick an editor you have to make sure you choose one that obviously is reasonably priced and edits your types of books, because obviously you want to get your value for your money. They'll be used to your genre, and you'll get a better product at the end of it. So you've got your beta reading, you may have not got an editor, again totally optional, like you don't have to, and now you should be comfortable with the manuscript that you will send once they request it. Now obviously some of you might be lucky and have friends that do that, which would be really handy to have them as a beta reader so they can sort of pick through it. And if you do know someone like that, getting them to go over your query letter is always a good thing as well, because you want it to be decently written, a nice concise summary of what your book's about, where it's going, background, and finally a bit about you. So in a letter they want to know your own background as an author. And of course, because most people that do it are new authors, first-time publishers, we don't have a proven track record. Like, why should they pick you? Because there's a lot of people out there. So you've got to make yourself stand out. So they like you to have a social media presence, which is obviously something I'm currently working on. They like to see you active, having your hand in a little bit of marketing. Because at the end of the day, if you do sign up with a publisher, although they'll be investing some money in you, it's still going to be down to you to sort of push your book. And again, keying back in on having an editor, I feel like that kind of pushes you just that step further, because you've put money in. It might mean that they're more likely to put money in as well, because they know you've got something to lose, and you're more likely to be more proactive and push your book. Again, that's entirely optional, but I just feel, just sets that bar a little bit higher. Now, before you start sending that letter out, there is formatting. So each publisher will have similar rules generally to how they would like your manuscript received. So if they request it, you've got to make sure it's formatted the right way. Not doing so not using perhaps double spacing, will just increase your chances of being straight out rejected. Which rejection isn't really something you want to increase the chances of. So check the publisher website, follow their formatting, and of course make sure your genre is what the publishers are after. So if there's a publisher that has authors listed which write high fantasy, you don't really want to send them your romance novel. You might like the publisher and want to be on their team, but at the end of the day they don't really sell that sort of books, so the chances of you getting rejected are maybe considerably high, unless they've stated they're specifically looking for introducing some romance authors. But generally, do your research, see what they're selling, and I'd say go for publishers that sell books on a similar vein. Not the same, but just similar, because when it comes down to it, a publisher doesn't want to risk losing money on something they don't know. If they're really comfortable with high fantasy, and you've written a nice high fantasy book that's different from what they've already got, they'll be more comfortable introducing you into the market instead of just playing a wild card and trying something completely new. Which does happen, but it's kind of rare. And if at the end of the day you still get rejected, you just got to remember it doesn't happen instantly. It can take months or years, People get turned down all the time, and it isn't because they hate your book, and it's not personal. You just got to think about the sheer amount of people that are probably applying and the amount of time it takes to go through each one. But as long as you've done your research on your publishers, you've done your work on your manuscript to make sure it's ready as best as it can possibly be once it gets requested, then you've done a huge amount of increasing your chances when querying. Okay? You don't want to be one of those people that writes the first draft and goes, excellent, we're done, I've done it, I'm going to send it to everyone, I'm going to send it to all the publishers, going to be the next, J.K. Rowling, because it's amazing. There's nothing wrong with it, and no one's read it. No one's read it yet. No beta readers, very little editing. You really don't want your manuscript at that stage to see the light of day towards publishers. You want to keep it, you want to edit it, you want to polish it all up, you want to get it as Krispy Kreme as possible, and then start querying. But yes, thank you for watching this video. I believe it's just started raining. Excellent. Hopefully it's been of some help, just things to think about really. Good luck with your querying if you've started. If you haven't, then good luck with your editing, because that's always fun. That's always really fun. Oh boy, editing. Just one more round. One more round of editing. Right, see you in the next video. Cheers for watching.